Alrighty, folks, welcome back. It's been a good IPL. It's time for some good Test cricket now. We've got a real treat here for you today, and joining us is someone who probably lives and breathes cricket.
Not like that. Not like
uh,
that.
you will probably know him as Fan Cricket 12 on Twitter, but everyone say hello to Bharat Ramraj. And if you ever scrolled through your cricket Twitter during a test match, the chances are you've probably seen his tweets. And yeah, he has a bunch of smart takes, some sharp analysis, and a good amount of fan passion and nerdiness put together. We love it that way. So he's here today to hype up the England versus India series with us. And yeah, he always brings something thoughtful to the table. So he's the kind of guy who supports the underdog but still sees the full picture, and yeah, that's what makes him so fun. So everyone,
Thanks for the invite.
put your hands together.
Yeah, nothing like
Welcome,
that.
Anil Bharat. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah. All right. So straight away, what's the vibe like? We're heading to England after I think it's been around 3 to 4 years since that 2021 series, which carried on to 2022. It ended in a 2-2 draw. What's the vibe like going into this series because it's a completely new squad?
Yeah, to some extent, it could be slightly less. I heard that there wasn't much of a crowd at the airport, though you can counter it by saying that they went through another way or another tunnel. So that could be the reason why there was less crowd. Yes, that is expected. Little less. Why? Because stalwarts, you can say, Kohli's, the Rohit Sharmas of the world. Yes, Ashwin also has taken retirement life from Test cricket. So you
Yeah,
expect a little less crowd, a little, or if not little less crowd, at least a little less interest. But if India do well, if India start well in the first test at Headingley, at least put up a good fight, then you expect a lot more interest coming in because obviously it's still a big ticket series, 5 match test series.
yeah,
So right through it, you expect enough interest.
right. So straight away, first thoughts about India's squad, right? You have Shubman Gill as captain, Rishabh Pant as vice captain. Any surprises or any miss outs from your end? Who do you think should have been in
Uh,
the squad?
Honestly, not much. Maybe I thought they can take Anshul Kamboj into the equation, at least after how he bowled against Lions. Yes,
Yeah.
you can tell he didn't pick too many wickets, but a couple of catches were dropped, and LBW decision kind of went against him. I thought one of them, I think maybe it was Tom Haynes. He was out plumb in front. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
So he bowled well, reasonably well, so they could have added him, but they have kept Harshit Rana out there. That is, I guess, Gambhir's call. Yes, the other one you can talk about Mohammad Shami, but you have to say that it came down to
yes,
fitness.
yeah,
So can he bowl 20 overs, 18 overs a day? I'm not very sure at this point of time. Even when I watched him here at Chinnaswamy in a couple of side Mushtaq Ali Trophy games, it
yeah,
seemed like struggling to zip through the crease or what they say to get through the crease. That is a clear indicator. He's carrying some niggle or the other all the time. And even in the IPL, it seemed like he was not getting the kind of C movement that he used to get in the past. They even put a graph in 2025 IPL that he was getting a little less C movement. So
yeah.
considering all that, I think most of them. I won't say there is any surprise in that, considering the options that India had.
How
Right.
do you rate Anshul Kamboj's bowling skill set suitable to the England conditions compared to Harshit Rana?
Yes, see, obviously there are different kinds of bowlers. So, see, Anshul Kamboj is very much a line bowler in the sense that whatever I've asked of him in the Ranji Trophy seems to make the better player. Even the Vijay Hazare Trophy from first ball is at there. Even the wicket that he took of KL Rahul in that Ranji Trophy game between Haryana and Karnataka, it was very much close to off stump, so he's making the better play. and that is I think his main strength. As Stephen Fleming himself noted once during the IPL, that it seems to hit the gloves a little harder than what the batsman expects it to be. That's a clear indicator that he also hits the bat a little bit harder than what a batsman expects it to be. So I think these are the key strengths. Also has a little bit of wobble ball. I'm not saying he's a superstar of the wobble ball, the kind of hybrid wobbles that you ended up seeing in that Australia South Africa Test series. I'm not saying is at that level, but he definitely can get the ball to wobble. That is his main strength. So in English conditions with a wobble ball, the kind of damage it is doing in the recent past, we could have been added. Harshit Ranasi is obviously a taller bowler, snaps his back, so gets some bounce. But I don't think he bowled more of that heavy ball in the IPL at least. He was definitely not bowling that heavy ball where he wasn't able to hit the bat hard on impact. He was giving a lot of width. He actually was trying a lot of cutters. I'm not sure what was the reason behind that, because that is not exactly strength. And he went and played against Lions. Again, he was offering width. See, if you offer width, then it is always going to be a challenge. It happened with other tall bowler in Prasidh Krishna. He was offering width. He was giving a lot of runs. Only in the IPL 2025, I felt that he had kind of rectified it. No real width and not much down the leg side. That is why he succeeded. So currently, I won't pick Harshit Rana at least for the Tour of England. Maybe in the future, if he improves in terms of his control, he can be picked for the South African tour or for the Australian tour. But for the England tour, considering that Anshul Kamboj makes the batter play, gets a little bit of sea movement off the deck, a little bit of wobble, I think I would have taken him as an extra member.
Right.
Speaking
And
about wobble seam, how much of the wobble seam is still left with Mohammad Siraj, or do you see that Shardul Thakur using in the intra squad or the practice games?
The Siraj bowls that maybe a bit less in the recent past. Couple of at least last 1 year, it seems like he's concentrating a little more swing bowling. Maybe he kind of felt that he's losing his ability to swing the ball. But he does bowl at three-quarter seam. The thing I think that goes against Siraj is that his control can be a little bit every when, especially the opposition is going after him. We saw that in Australia. I'm not sure his problem is with that three-quarter seam. His problem is more with control now. The second main pacer now, Mohammad Shami also is not there, so his control has to be slightly better. He's experienced as well. In Australia, yes, he bowled a couple of good spells, but whenever India really needed a spell where they wanted Siraj to back up Bumrah with a spell of like say 5 overs, 10 runs, 1 wicket. He was giving away runs. I think that is his main problem. Shardul Thakur, I think, is a little more skillful when it comes to that three-quarter seam than Siraj. But again, I'm not sure about his fitness at present, where he is. But because in that, again, I go back to the India A and England Lions game after the 14th, 15th over around those lines, he seemed to be struggling a little bit for fitness. Yes, these two can bowl. Bumrah also can bowl that, but I don't think he needs it. There's a lot of other weapons. I've seen him occasionally use it, but obviously his name is Bumrah, so he has a lot of other weapons. Maybe he doesn't really need the wobble seam.
yeah. So straight away, what would be your thoughts about how these bowlers are going to be used by our new captain Shubman Gill? How do you think he's going to be as a captain? How do you think this is going to play out?
Can you just explain it a little more, because slightly vague, which kind of bowler you are looking at? Because see, for example, Jasprit Umrah obviously is a pace period, but
Right.
can you explain it a little more, like what exactly you want to ask?
Right. So I was going to ask you, like, Shubman Gill being a new captain has not exactly rotated these bowlers around in a test match scenario, right? Now, is he going to, how is he going to manage the workload for Bumrah? And how do you think he's going to bring Prasidh Krishna into the equation? Is he going to use Prasidh Krishna as the primary weapon against Joe Root, given that Bumrah is not going to be bowling the
Playing all
bulk
the
of
test.
the overs?
Yeah.
Yes, we see he's captained Prasidh Krishna in for Gujarat Titans.
Yes.
That is that is not sure he's my favorite bowler, but yeah, he's a bowler that I've admired over the last 10 years. See, I
Yeah.
just look at someone's potential and say that is good. That's what I felt 10 years ago. Anyway, going back to that same point, is Captain Prasidh Krishna at Gujarat Titans. So at least you would have some kind of familiarity with this bowler. Yes, see, with Subman Gill, there are two ways to look at it. In terms of his batting, he definitely has to score some runs because a captain has to lead from the front in Sena Nations. He has to score some runs. But
Yeah.
as a captain, I liked what I saw in Australia. Yes, he was definitely not the captain there in Australia, but whenever someone like Siraj or even someone like Prasidh was giving away runs, he was going to the bowler and trying to console him or maybe saying a few words of encouragement. So that tells you he is someone who has some leadership qualities, though he was not the captain there in Australia. And he did that with Gujarat Titans as well. Obviously, you can now counter me by saying that uh, Ashish Nehra might have done most of the strategies, but still he was giving some words of encouragement to his bowlers like Siraj and Prasidh. So he has shown some leadership qualities. So in that sense, see Prasidh Krishna, if he has to use him in the right way, then he has to tell him he has to be genuine wicket taker. That's what I have looked at him as a bowler. He's
Yeah.
not your stock bowler. If you're going to pick a stock bowler, then better to pick someone like Akash Deep. Tell him to bowl back of length, good length, and keep the runs down. Yes, for Rasid also it's important that his control has to be good enough, which he showed it in the IPL. But he's someone who gives you that heavy ball, swings it a little bit. I think it's an underrated skill of his. Couple of times I've seen him swing the ball, so he has to look at him as a genuine wicket taker, even if it is against Joe Root, who has had some problems against tall metronomic bowlers like Hazelwood, Pat Cummins. But again, I repeat, metronomic bowlers who have that kind of control. Even Bumrah is someone who can hit the deck hard, ball that heavy ball. He has had some problems against him, so he can come into the equation against Root. But again, it comes down to his control. But as far as Gill is concerned, with Jasprit Bumrah, I think it comes down to whether other bowlers can support him well. See, for example, if Prasidh is going for a lot of runs, 20 runs in 4 overs,
Yeah.
or if they pick Arshdeep Singh goes for 25 runs in 5 overs, then the captain has no other choice but to go back to your strike bowler again and again and again. So it comes down to the how well the inexperienced bowlers bowl. But good the thing with the Gill is, see, England are going to attack. That's their game. Hopefully, will not get rattled easily. For example, there might be 50 for no loss at some point of time in 10 overs. I have seen a couple of teams getting rattled. Hopefully, Shuman Gill won't get rattled early and always look for wickets, because if the opposition is looking for runs in a test match with the ball doing a little bit, then if you put the fielders in the right positions, slip catching, slip fielding positions, then you can take wickets as well.
True.
Yeah,
And
I
this is
have.
something that we saw with Rohit Sharma in the Australian series. He seemed to take away his fielders from attacking positions a little too early. And, he kept going back to Bumrah, right? He kept depending on Bumrah because the other bowlers weren't giving him enough. And eventually, as it came down to the fifth test, Bumrah's back finally gave in. So, Vishal's question is very context sensitive here, given Bumrah's back situation. He's not going to play all 5 games. He mentioned it in the interview as well. He said that he will be playing only 3 games as of now. Um, which 3 games would you prefer him to play? Would it be 1-3-5 or play the first three and then sit out for the rest of the series?
We
Most
also got
likely,
a
as
glimpse
noted,
of the pitch on Twitter. Like it was very flat and it was
Hmm.
extremely sunny. The forecast says it will be sunny throughout. Even yesterday, there was a game being called off due to excessive sun in England. Strange times. Do you proceed with Bumrah for the first test, considering all these conditions as well?
obviously you expect Bumrah to play the first test, right?
Yeah,
Because India would want to win the first test, take that lead. So
early lead.
yes, see, with Bumrah there are 4 5 subplots. If you want to go back to that Australia series, the one subplot is obviously you talked about other bowlers not supporting him somewhere. You have to give a little bit, at least little bit of leeway to the captain there, because when the other bowlers are not supporting him, by default you have to keep going back to your main strike bowler. But I understand where you're coming from. It's, I think, a modern day phenomena that even with Pat Cummins, we saw that in the World Test Championship final, especially with Tembe Bavuma struggling to move. He just spread the field around. I don't really understand what exactly was the reason, because here is a player who is struggling to run between the wickets. So why do you want to spread the field there? And that is something that Rohit Sharma also definitely did that. And another thing I think that really went against India was the selection. I can't understand on a green Mamba at SCG. Why would you pick Washington Sundar out there? What is his role on a green Mamba? And you have Nitesh Reddy out there as well. So you have basically two bowlers who are not going to give you much. And then obviously Bumrah's back broke down. So
Yeah.
selection mistakes were there. And yes, you come back to that back problem. See, has that explosive action. I don't need to say much about that. If I ask experts, they will talk about Bumrah having that lateral flexion that is basically said maybe slightly falling across. They will, if you ask someone else, they will talk about how he doesn't have any buffer with his back or compensation with his back. So his back somewhere it would break, because it gives him that uniqueness. I understand that. If you look at how great his what can I say, delivery stride is, if you look at how both his arms go up at a particular point of time, hyperextension and all that, but his back was said to be broken at some point of time, but maybe because of India's wrong selections, maybe because of India's inexperienced bowlers not really performing well. Unfortunately, it happened at times in the MCG during that SCG test.
Yeah. So um, again, Gill. I just want to touch up on one last thing with Gill. His average in Sena conditions since 2022 has been 16. And he has stated that he will be batting at 4 and Rishabh Pant will be batting at 5. Now, he's pushed himself down from the opening slot to the number 3 slot and now to number 4. Would it have made more sense to have your best batter KL Rahul at number 4, or would you send him out there opening the innings to take on the bulk of the pressure by himself?
So perhaps they're looking at it from the perspective that KL Rahul is technically the best batter of the lot. So maybe they want him to take on the new ball. So it's not a bad way to look at it. Yes,
Yeah.
there is a school of thought that sometimes KL Rahul perhaps thinks too much about technique. That's how I feel as well. But sometimes he's trying to play too much inside the line of the ball a lot. Maybe he gets into a little bit of shell, but I think he's technically India's still best player by fair margin in this particular setup at least. So him
True.
opening the batting, I won't really have anything against it. And Jaiswal obviously has to open. So I
Yeah.
think it's not a bad way to look at it. Shubman Gill at number 4. He has had problems as a nip packer, and if you take him to somewhere to top of the order, then him against Chris Wokes with that oval seam ball, who knows, he might get trapped in front. So looking at it, I think it's not a bad way that they have KL Rahul at the top.
Yeah, I mean, over the decade, over the last few years, KL Rahul has clearly been our best batter in overseas conditions.
Yeah,
He's
the only thing I'll add to that is he has a tendency to play well in the first couple of tests or two, three tests, and
yeah,
then kind of nosedive. That is where I said maybe sometimes what happens is a bowlers tend to bowl wider of off stump to start with, and leaves a lot of deliveries. Then they think to themselves, okay, you have to bowl slightly on the stumps, zoom in on the stumps, go
yeah,
slightly wider of the crease, and try to angle in and hit top of off or just outside off. So maybe KL Rahul, if he expresses himself a little more by playing a few more shots, he might be a little more consistent right through that series.
true. And do you think they're gonna experience Kohli's absence not just as batter but also as captain?
Yeah, as a captain, obviously, that's a foregone conclusion, because I think Kohli used to bring that kind of. It's not just about tactics. It's not just about strategy. It's also about having that presence. We saw that in the Lord's Test in 2021. That kind of presence he had when he asked the bowlers to make or the entire team to make it feel like it was a hell for the England team. So that kind of presence definitely would be missed. That kind of experience definitely would be missed. Is probably India's greatest test captain. I know some someone from the bygone era might come and bash me and talk about some Patodi or someone else, but yes, I think he's probably India's greatest test captain. His presence, see, it's just about also about Kohli has so much of accomplishment. So a young player coming in will have that kind of, what can I say, respect for Virat Kohli. So he will definitely miss his experience as a captain, as a captain in England over a couple of tours. It definitely will be missed by the Indian team, especially if England baseball team are something like 150 for one, 200 for one. I'm just talking about an imaginary sense. And then there could be some panic in that Indian setup.
Right. And would you go Prasidh Krishna or would you go Akashdeep?
I think I would go with Prasidh. I would say it is between the left arm angle of Arshdeep, because it is of a left arm angle. I was getting a little bit tempted sometimes. Maybe a couple of English batters. I have maybe in imaginary sense. I'm thinking of Joe Root and Harry Brook. That what Vishwa Fernando did to them last
Hmm.
year at the Oval from over the wicket. I was thinking on those lines, but I think safer option considering how he bowled in the IPL. Yes, someone will hit back at me by saying that was IPL different format, but actually he bowled Test match lengths and took those
True.
wickets. If you look at how he bowled, barring that occasional slower delivery he tried from round the wicket to left-hand batters, he mostly bowled Test match lengths, bowled heavy ball,
Yeah.
occasionally swung the ball and took those wickets. I just hope that he doesn't offer width. The problem with Prasidh or even Harshit Rana or Prasidh from the past was that he would offer width. The batters would take advantage of it, then he would try to overcompensate it by bowling it down leg, and they suddenly would be, his figures would be 20 runs in 2 overs. So that's what used to go against him somewhere at the end of the, maybe after the end of the Australian tour and between the IPL. He seems to have worked very hard on his fitness and his bowling mechanics, and that is why I think he could bowl so well in the IPL.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I didn't really look at Ashdeep as an option because of his stint in the county
Yes,
scenario,
I
right?
understand.
Only 13 wickets and average is 41 and a
And
half.
I will
So,
add a point to it if you want to, if you wish to. I think having watched him in Ranji Trophy, if you really want to use Arshdeep Singh in first class cricket, then I believe it is with a new ball. With a older ball, I think he still has some problem there. Even the Dulip Trophy I was watching, he would come with a older ball and give away a lot of runs. It's with a new ball where he can swing it, sometimes late swing. That is where he's
yeah.
effective. So that could be the reason why even first class average is over 30 somewhere in that sense. With the older ball only, I'm saying Khalil Ahmed seems to be better than Arshdeep because he can go round the wicket. And as Australia's batters talked about how sometimes his release point is a little higher, sometimes it's a little lower. So
Yeah.
Australia's batters were telling in an interview that they were not able to get into a pattern with Khalil Ahmed because of his unpredictability, which actually might have helped him against the Lions team as well, where he picked some wickets.
Right. So looking at the squad once again, Karun Nair's inclusion, right? It's been a very poetic sense of things for him to have scored that 300 and then to get dropped right after, to make him work all these years to earn his spot back. We remember the tweet that said, "Dear cricket, give me one last chance," and he has that chance once again, right? It's there, but it has come at the cost of someone like Sarfaraz Khan, who has not done much wrong. So how do you look at this scenario? And do you think Karun Nair is actually going to get a chance in the playing 11, or will it be someone like Sai Sudarshan?
Obviously, it's the Indian management's call. See, Sarfraz Khan, what I would say is maybe, I'm just guessing here, maybe they have something against him off the field. There were a couple of speculations. I don't want to go deep
Yeah,
into it, what exactly happened, leaks and all. The other reason could be they might have something against him in terms of his game. You see,
or his
someone who
fitness. Hmm.
yes, although his fitness has got better,
It
we
has.
saw some of the recent. We have seen some of the recent photos of Safras. See,
Yeah.
Safras, what is his greatest strength? His greatest strength is, I think, his great hands. He's someone may not move his feet much. If you give him a little bit of room, he's someone who can hit shots behind square on the offside, maybe even square of the wicket on the offside or the leg side. That is where he's really good at. So you need a kind of coach who will think that Safras can get out for two zeros. He can get out for two zeros. He's that kind of a player. But the next day he might come and get you 80 of 60 balls or 70 balls and win you a test match. So if you have that kind of a coach, I think it is better for Safras. I'm not 100% sure Gambhir is that kind of a coach because of the way he went after from whatever I've heard, the way he went after Rishabh Pant after that MCG test. So that could be another reason. You need that kind of a coach who understands Sarfraz's game. That you will get a few ungainly dismissals. We have seen that even in the Indian New Zealand Test series, a couple of dismissals against Mitchell Sander. So that would have helped him. See, Karun Nair, I am happy for him. He's a good shot maker. If someone looks good on the eye, yes. If I have to be, if one has to be critical, he will hit back by saying that he might have a problem against the nip packer. A couple of times he was troubled in that lines versus India game. But it's good on the eye, good shot maker. Maybe he's better suited at number 5 the way he bats.
Yeah.
That's just, my thinking. But Sai Sudarshan also has very good temperament. He might not average 40 in first class cricket, but kind of quality knocks he's played. I remember the one he played against India A, I think, Dilip Trophy game. I was there watching that game from the stadium. Prasidh Krishna gave me a little bit of working over his short deliveries, but he was able to handle it, got a 100 against Australia as well. So his temperament is good. Maybe I would, if you ask me, I would say Sai Sudarshan perhaps is slightly better off at number 3, and Karun Nair is better off at number 5. You know, Rishabh Pant will bat at number 5, uh,
Yeah.
but but I won't mind if either of them go in and play number 3 because that's fine with me.
All right.
While
And
we are on the subject of Sai Sudarshan, who had a brilliant IPL and all those with those textbook shots, he doesn't seem to show any kind of weakness. But what's your take from your eyes? Like, does he have any weakness, and is there any particular England bowler that can set him up or trouble him or with any lines?
See, if you really want to take a microscope and check it, you can find a weakness even with someone like Sachin Tendulkar or who knows, maybe even with Don Bradman. So, I think if I really want to take a microscope, I would say that maybe he's not the best when it comes to playing the cut stroke on tracks with a little more bounce because he plays a little more in the air. In the IPL, it's fine because Indian decks, barring maybe Mulanpur when there's a little more bounce. Obviously, he didn't play. He played just one game there in Mulanpur, and maybe somewhere else, a couple of grounds. You usually don't get much bounce, so it's not the best cutter of the ball. When there's a little more bounce, I think doesn't go really back end across, tries to play it. So maybe England have a couple of front-on bowlers, the younger bowlers, the Cars, the Tongs. They don't have the accuracy. Someone, especially someone like Tong. But if they can maybe get it to angle it across, we might have an issue or two. But his temperament is really good. The other way to look at it is Shardul Thakur trapped him a couple of times. LBW in the Ranji Trophy, maybe he was not loading up his back heel much. That could be the reason. But that's how Shardul Thakur looked at when it came to bowling to Sudarshan in the Ranji Trophy.
right. And I know this is going to be a little bit of a sorrowful thing to think about, but it's going to be another series where Abhimanyu Ishwaran spends time on the bench. Is that how we all see it?
See, again, it's maybe in somewhere the Indian management is not sure about his game. So, see, I can't really sit and comment because he's done really well in first class cricket, but they see something that is not working for him. That is how the Indian management seem to see. See, a lot of Ranji decks, whatever. See, I do watch a little bit of Ranji Trophy because of my work. What happens is you get a lot of grass on the surfaces and it stays low. So the kind of game that you require in the Ranji Trophy is maybe slightly different to the kind of game that you require when you play in Sena Nations, because there's a little more bounce. So it's not, conditions are not similar, though you'll get a little bit of grass in a lot of these Ranji Trophy games.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something against him. A couple of times he got squared up against Australia A. I'm just trying to find out some logical reasons, because obviously he scored the runs in first class cricket, and if you go by it, he should get a chance. But there is something in his game that is not really going well with the management when they look at his batting.
Yeah. Right. So that brings us to the playing 11, right? For you, what would be your ideal playing 11 for the first test at least?
I think I gave a clue. I'm looking at someone like Sai Sudarshan, number three. But again, as I said, it's not like against something against Karan Nair. I don't think there's much difference. But still,
Yeah.
Sai Sudarshan's temperament in a couple of quality knocks that he played impressed me. So based on his temperament, I'm looking at him at number three. You know who are the two openers: KL Rahul, Jaiswal.
Yeah.
Shubman Gill, number four, is already been said in the press conference. Rishabh Pant at five. Six is the difficult one. I feel Dhruv Jurel has a technique to do really well in Sena Nations. That's what my feeling is. But Nitesh Reddy, we have to give it to him. He scored 100 at the MCG. I don't look at him as a bowler. If I have to pick him, then he has to bat in the top six. Maybe him at six. Though as I noted, I really like Dhruv Jurel's technique.
Yeah.
Yes, Jadeja at seven. I'm not very sure of picking two spinners in Leeds. But
Yeah.
again, I'm sitting here. I'm not at Leeds. So if tomorrow, if they have trimmed off all the grass, then I might really be thinking of Kuldeep Yadav, because, as you said, the weather is warm there. But if there is any covering of grass, any decent covering of grass, then obviously I will go for the extra seamer. That could be Shardul. And then three quicks, Prasidh, Siraj, and Bumrah. But again, comes down to the weather pattern. And if I feel that, for example, if I put my hat of a coach hat, and tomorrow if I see that the grass has been mostly trimmed off, then I think I will go in with Kuldeep Yadav.
Sounds good. I mean, I had very similar opinions. Again, I was a little iffy about having Nitish Reddy at six or not, but I think he does deserve it after the performances that he's put through. And given that Bumrah is not in a state where he can consistently give you back to back overs, having Nitish Reddy just gives you a little bit of a cushion to play around with it. So, yeah, it makes complete sense to
I just
have.
gave him that chance because he did reasonably well in Australia. Somewhere, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of continuity would help. Though, as I noted, I really like Jurel's technique right from ball one in Test cricket that he faced against Anderson. The way he loaded up, pressed and released, and left the ball. I told you a lot about his technique against the moving ball.
Yeah. So that covers things from India's side. Now let's take a look at how it is from England's side, right? So they've already announced their playing 11,
Yes.
and they've gone ahead with they've gone ahead with Ollie Pope itself. They've not changed anything. They've not gone in with Jacob Bethel as their
Yeah, I was joking about Ollie Pope. I think in 2267 they will still be picking Ollie Pope, and he will
Ollie
score
Pope.
100 at the oval, and the next 10 innings he will flop, and again he will score 100 at the oval.
It was the Sanju Samson template once upon a time, wasn't it? Yeah, look, I agree with Leander here. Pope over Bethel is delaying the inevitable. Maybe at some stage of this, series, we might get to see Jacob Bethel get a game, but they've gone in with Ollie Pope, and that's fair enough, I guess. And the bowling lineup does look very toothless, I'd say, but
I
the
won't
batting
say
looks,
toothless. I think it's real inexperience, because don't
yeah,
forget Chris Wokes has a very very solid record at home. I know that he averages 50 away from home, but at home I think it's a good replacement for James Anderson. So I think he will be a threat. It depends on how Bryden Cars is bowling. I think I was impressed by how we bowled in New Zealand and in Pakistan. He kept
Yeah,
his energy levels up. He was bowling 88, 90 miles per hour, bowling the heavy ball. But after his return from the toe injury, he was bowling around 84, 85 miles per hour against the West Indies. I don't know whether he's reserving his energy for the India series, but he's a potentially good bowler, 27 test wickets in 5 tests. Let us see how
yeah,
he goes in the series. Strong is a very unpredictable bowler, the kind of bowler who can go for 80 runs in 12 overs on a bad day, because I don't think he still understands what test match bowling is all about. Yes, some unpredictability factor. Sometimes both his arms go up, so you're looking at his release point where it is, and sometimes it just seems to straighten on the angle a little bit against the right-hander. Mostly comes into the right-hander, but I don't think he still understands what test match bowling is all about. So he can be targeted, especially if he goes for a few boundaries early on in his spell. So I think it's an inexperienced lineup where if India get through the first session, for example, they're batting tomorrow first, there's a grassy pitch, there's
yeah.
something like 70 for 2 at the end of the first session, because if it's a grassy pitch, you expect at least a couple of wickets. And then they suddenly are 150 for 3. Then I think there will be panic in that particular lineup, because they don't have the experienced bowlers anymore. But in
Yeah.
English conditions, I won't call it as toothless, especially with Chris Wokes around.
Fair enough. And again, there's a statement made by Leander in the comments, which was supposed to be my next question to you. Would you have preferred Sam Cook over Josh Tongue?
Yeah, I think they're looking at high potential rather than bowler who might just come in English conditions, take a few wickets. Maybe they're looking at it on a long-term basis. See, Sam Cook is stubborn against Zimbabwe. Watched him on a flat pitch. He was kind of struggling because his pace was like 125 kilometers per hour. He also has the wobble ball. It seems like everyone in England now has a wobble ball, because it's become so famous in that particular country. But on a flat pitch, I think he might struggle. But considering that there would be a grass covering in Leeds, that's what I'm hearing. I don't know what kind of grass covering they will leave is tomorrow. But if
Yeah.
there's a grass covering with that wobble ball, if someone has good control, he might have come into he might have he might he might have come into picture. But I think they are looking at someone with potential on a long term basis, and that is why I think they went with the taller bowler.
Right.
Do you think
Um,
Ben Stokes will be taking the ball back?
He
So,
bowled some overs against Zimbabwe. He was swinging the ball nicely. I know you will say that it's just Zimbabwe, but it was graphic was showing up that they were getting to. He was getting about 2 degrees, 1.8 degrees of swing. That's good amount of swing. I think the main thing for Ben Stokes is not to get into that kind of mode where he's going to bowl 10 to 12 overs in a spell, because he's now not 25 or 26. That is what he tried in that final test against New Zealand. When they
yeah.
were going to lose that particular test, they had already won that series. They're not going to qualify for the World Test Championship final anyway. And you're still trying to bowl a 12-hour spell. That is when he picked up that hamstring injury. So, from his perspective, I think it's important that he keeps himself for short spells of 4 or 5 overs. Yeah, he's bowling reasonably well. Zimbabwe swinging it at 83, 84 miles per hour.
Solid. So coming to the batting side of things, we know the kind of starts that Ben Duckett has been giving England, but I feel like somewhere in there, Joe Root looks like he is invincible right now, right? The kind of form that he's in. And just to give you guys some numbers, his first innings average is 50, his second innings average is 92, his average against right arm pace in general is 68. Against spinners, he's over 100. And on good length balls, his average right now is around 70. So it feels like if you don't have a fit Bumrah coming in, how are you going to take on Joe Root? Because the entire batting is going to revolve around him.
So yeah, there are two subplots. Look at it maybe. The one is I think in 2021. If you go back to the 2021 series when Joe Root, and again in its best in 2022, he had such a magnificent run against India. I thought India bowled a little too short. He's also a front foot player, though his trigger is a little more of a trigger. Still a front foot player, but he plays late. Because he plays late, he's able to find those all those gaps. Even right through the third man region, behind square and offside. Even if you keep a couple of slips, he somehow manages to steer it, dab it wide of gully region, get a few boundaries away. So that is where I think the key part is you have to ball a little bit fuller to him, which I think India learned it in the final test at the Oval, but by then Joe Root had scored a lot of runs, but at least
Yeah.
helped them curtail him at the Oval and win that test. So I think that is one part. So it again comes down to Mr. Bumrah. He bowled really well to him in the 2024 Test series in India. See,
Yeah.
there's a thinking going around. I don't know whether the school of thought is right or wrong. That you have to be a little more nice and still against Bumrah, not have those triggers movements because of this action. Maybe you will be put off by his unique action. So maybe Joe Root was moving across a little bit, and Bumrah definitely took advantage of it. But in the final test, obviously, Dharamsala Root scored some runs. So Bumrah is the main one. Especially if again Joe Root starts to move around in the crease with this trigger, he might have a real good chance. And for Joe Root, he has one delivery. I am talking about it just for Joe Root. He uses it. That is the one that seems to come in with the angle and kind of moves away late and kicks up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Even in one-day cricket, he's used it in 2022 at the Oval. In Test cricket, he's used it. So Bumrah will be one, and if Prasidh Krishna has to strike against Root, he's to be metronome. His control has to be good, can't give width because he's a very good puncher. He plays a lot of punches off the back foot, can play square cut. So his control is good. Like I am not expecting his control to be as good as Pat Cummins or Hazelwood, who have kind of troubled him. But if his control is good, gets a little bit of bounce, then he might also come into the picture against Root.
Valid. And just to close things out on England, uh, do you think Basball is still going to stay alive, or we will have the better chance against them?
Stay alive in the sense they're going to play like that even
Of course.
if so they even if they lose this series by chance, they'll keep playing like that. But from India's perspective, the same thing. Don't get rattled even if they're 60 for 0, 70 for 0 after 12, 13 overs. It's a young side, but don't get rattled. Keep fielding positions, keep attacking fielding positions, slip fielders. If you want a forward shot leg or whatever it is, keep them because chance will come. If on a pitch which is doing a little bit, if you take a lot of chances, then obviously somewhere he will also provide one opportunity or two to the opponent. So that's what I would say for the Indian team. My 2 cents.
Do you think this England side, at least in this WTC cycle, will be mindful that there is a WTC final and a cycle and a points table?
And the fact
Or
that they get to play the final at home.
That is not for me to tell. I think first of all, they have to look at the slow over rate as well. Every single match, they seem to get hammered by it. The slow over rate thing. Not saying that that would have, if they had not taken care of it, they would have qualified for the World Test Championship final. But that has really hit them hard in New Zealand and in the 2023 Ashes. So yes, see, it's not a great team. It's not a great England team. The greatest England Test team that I have seen at least is that 2009 to 2013 Test team.
Yeah.
It's someone that can throw punches at you, a lot of punches at you. This England Test team, and if you get rattled, then it's a kind of side that can even bulldoze you. That is if you get rattled. We saw that even in New Zealand, where they kind of got rattled in a couple of tests when Harry Brook was coming down the wicket, hitting Will Rourke and Nathan Smith and Matt Henry, and suddenly they went away with those 2 test wins. So that kind of a test side it is. Throw your punches. If you don't get rattled, I think you can defeat this test set at least over a couple of test matches.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that brings my side of questions to the end. Smuk, if you have anything else for him, shoot away.
yeah. So what's your
Or
perceived
I
over?
or I will ask you a question. I will ask you a question. I will just make
Yeah.
it opposite. What is your prediction? What is your prediction for this particular test series? You become the Nostradamus and tell me what is your prediction.
I'm going just very straight field in my case. I'm hitting Joe Root with the most runs, Mohammad Siraj with the most wickets. I feel like the series is going to end 3-1 in England's favor, and yeah, hopefully the Indian team proves me wrong.
Yeah, with the same opinion of 3-1, but I think the leading run scorer will be Harry Brook, who will be coming after a long break. I'm expecting him to have a very good
There's
innings.
better air quality in England, I've heard.
Yeah, the sun is very clear this time. I would have loved to see Jacob Bethel, the star boy of England, but very unfortunate he would have to miss out for Ollie Pope.
Star boy of RCB as well now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
He has a fan in me. What about you, Bharat? Predictions from your end?
uh, see, I think India will do better than what many expect them to. That's what I would say. The only
Yeah,
reason I'm saying is, see, whenever a lot of them say it's an inexperienced side, it's not going to do well. Then you don't have anything to prove. You don't have any pressure. You just can go out there and play your game. Maybe some of them will have that little bit of fire as well. Yes, we have to prove some critics wrong. So expect India to win at least one test and if possible two test matches because this England test side, if you put them under pressure, you expect some kind of a collapse. We saw that even against Sri Lanka. But over a five test match series, logically, if I use my head, then I it was little bit difficult for me to for me to see India going and winning the series. They might win two test matches if they get a little bit of luck or a little bit of things going in their favor, like batting first or bowling first on a grassy pitch or something on those
yeah,
lines.
for sure.
Yeah, even from the last Ashes, so Australia leading 2-0, and England came out very strong in the next three test
Yeah,
matches.
Yeah,
they will throw a lot of punches. It's not a side that can be taken lightly. Okay, they will throw a lot of punches, but there's always a collapse around the corner. I feel that with that side, so they're not a ruthless test side. So expect them to slip up at least once, maybe twice.
yeah. There's a very nice question in the comments. If by chance India lose the series, will it be labeled GG's loss or Gill's loss? I have a feeling that the media will take this and blame Kohli for not playing and retiring instead. All right.
Anyway,
Okay.
Virat Kohli will get a lot of hits. So if you take his name, chili paneer dinner, if you take his name, you'll always get.
All right.
Whatever he did, that particular cook during that Railways versus Delhi game, chili paneer or whatever it was.
Yeah. Oh, we love it. Right. Fine. I think that probably brings us to the end of the stream. Uh, Thank you so much, Bharat, for showing up and being such a nice, proactive member of this panel. Leander says ban Abhishek Tripathi. I agree. So,
I will say, I will sit on the fence. Yeah, I met him a few times. I'll just sit on the fence on this.
okay. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the viewers for joining in, and thank you once again, Bharat. And yeah,
Enough of maybe enough of my ranting for 48 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah, it's been
Thank
a
you
good
for
time.
joining. It's been a fun session. Maybe we'll catch up after the first test, and until then, enjoy the good game of cricket.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you, lads.